Ladies and gentlemen, now introducing the Geeks Who Like Sports!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We hope it is good. Welcome to another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carsillo in 100-degree Los Angeles, even though it's October. And join my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how are you doing today?
Beautiful 60-degree weather here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's the best time of the year. It's October, start of Q4. It's an exciting time. The weather's right. Hockey's coming. Football's moving. Baseball's going to the postseason. Basketball's coming. It's a great time, Ray. This is the most wonderful time of the year. Again, recording this October 1st, releasing it October 1st. This is the greatest month of the year. Exclamation point on Halloween to end it. Fight me on. I think everyone agrees across the board. October is the best month of the year.
I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah, I think for sure. It's definitely up there.
And before we get into the episode, Ray, you did not know I was going to do this, but I got to put this out here. My best friend here is becoming a comedy legend. He's performing in multiple places. He's nodding his head, but this is what's going to happen. When he is humongous in this space, they will refer back to this video on his A&E biography, perhaps his obituary, either or. The point is this: they're going to come back to this moment of me saying it in the year 2024 that the major celebrity comedian Raymond Carsillo and his friend and schmuck Lee Elias used to do this podcast. I'm really proud of you, man. You are making some moves here in the comedy world. I never thought you were that funny, but other people do apparently, and that's great.
I to be fair, they don't think I'm very funny either. They just need somebody who can talk.
You keep getting booked. That I can do. Knock yourself. You keep getting
that
booked.
I can do.
I've seen your bit. It's funny.
Filling airtime. That I am a specialist in, my friend. But I'd like
to talk to you a little bit about confidence. You know, when two people really love each other. I'm just kidding. That's not confidence. We'll keep moving on here.
Yeah, let's keep it rolling. I will say I am getting more comfortable on stage. I did book 2 new gigs. Go check out my socials, folks. If you are in the LA area, October 13th and October 20th, back-to-back Sundays. I already looked ahead for you. They're awful NFL primetime games that week. It's the Giants and Bengals and the Jets and the Steelers. I am doing you a favor. Even if I suck, I won't suck as much as those football.
I hope that you say something on stage about I'm a big Giants fan. I'm so happy to be here not watching them right now. That would make me laugh.
That is exactly what I plan on doing. Actually, I'm excited because I'm going to be doing some seasonal material, some Halloween material.
Good. Yeah, well, I love your stuff, Ray. I'm proud of you, and I love that you're doing that. And if you listen to this show, make sure you support this man. His clips will come out. You must share them and make him the super comedian that he is, because we need to come back to this moment and make it official. Thank you very much.
Yeah, go to my YouTube. It's just my name, Ray Carsillo. Go to my YouTube. Most recent 8 minutes from Fourth Wall a couple weeks ago just went up. So I always try. I don't post when I don't have new material, but when I have new material,
I don't think any comedian does. I think that's great. But I'm proud of you, dude. It's cool to watch you on this journey.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And who knows, maybe they'll actually start paying me someday. We'll see what happens. But yes. Anyway, we got a big show. Lee mentioned baseball playoffs. Actually, as we speak, the Tigers are up in game 1 against the Astros, 3-0. Game 1 of the wild
only
card
series I want them to win.
Yes. Yeah. No, I want the Tigers to beat the Astros. I want the Royals to beat the Orioles. And then, knock on wood, the Yankees should actually have a pretty easy path.
You need the Royals to beat the Orioles.
Yeah, we struggled against Baltimore all year long. Even though we ended up obviously winning the division, Baltimore and Houston. I said it. If we have to face them, we're gonna have to exercise some demons. But it'd be a lot easier just to beat up on Kansas City and Detroit. But we'll see what happens.
Well, the truth is this, Ray. It's all right in front of you.
Oh God.
The whole postseason is right in front of you.
Anyway, we got a lot to talk about with baseball later on. We got a big geek section today. We got a lot of video game news and some interesting legal stuff that happened, which I thought was fun. Not necessarily bad, but just interesting. We got some basketball news, but we're gonna kick things off with college football.
Well, speaking of legal, that's what you should have said. Speaking of legal stuff.
Legal stuff. I'm probably not going to say this correctly, but we're going to kick things off with UNLV. Not even going to get into the games. We're going to start with the big UNLV news. Quarterback Matt Sluka. Basically, he basically is redshirting himself which basically means he's played 3 or 4 games, and he says he will not lose a year of eligibility, but he will sit the rest of the year because he transferred to UNLV, and he said he was promised $100,000 in NIL money. He got $3,000 of that money, did not get the rest. He said he will not play until he gets the rest of his money. And now the joys of pro contract negotiation has sprinkled into college sports. Now, to be fair, it is understandable and it does make sense. If the dude was promised this money, he should get his money. But until they also produce a contract, and it really sounds like they're going to start working this out now, where this stuff is going to have to start being in writing, like any other contract and any other promises. Because if you're going to be treated like free agents, if you're going to treat this like the pros, and if you're going to treat it like a job, you got to get that. Trust me, if somebody's looking for work, you got to get that stuff in writing before you bank on it. And so Matt Sluka looking to get paid. Lee, what are your thoughts on the? Well, I mean, obviously this is what people were afraid of with NIL and all that other stuff. But what are your thoughts with Matt Sluka and his?
Well, just to keep this Geeks Who Like Sports, when you say his name, it sounds like Mandalorian. Sluka. So Sluka. Anyway, look, I actually have a lot of thoughts on this, Ray. So the student body really kind of got on him about this, and I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of on his side a bit here. I don't agree with people, and like let's just bring this down to kind of like metaphorically. Can you imagine having a job where someone has said, "Hey, I'm going to pay you this much," and then they just decide they're not going to pay you that much? Do you really think you could keep doing that job the same way you've been doing it? Keep in mind, he's undefeated, by the way. It wasn't like a bad start. He was 3-0.
Yeah, UNLV was being talked about possibly being a playoff team if they were to keep on this run.
Yeah, and I mean, could you continue to work for nothing just because and then people tell you, well, you should just do it for free because it's the right thing to do? There's no one in the world, I think, that's going to do that, right? Especially if there was an agreement in place, okay?
Yes.
Now, look, before NIL, sure, right? That would be incredibly selfish.
In fact, it would have been illegal to pay him before NIL.
Right. If they promised him money and did not deliver on that money, which is absolutely the way it is now, as you said, you don't go back to the previous thing, then I understand why he's sitting out. And you said 100%. It perfectly. This is now football in 2024 in the collegiate stadium.
Yes.
All right. And I agree with you too. You have to have, his contract. They're going to have agents. I don't know how that's not happening.
Yeah. That's where the mistake seems to be, is that this doesn't seem to be in writing anywhere.
Well,
now, if he can produce,
deal.
if he can produce an email or something, whatever, this is an open and shut case. Yeah. Right. Because honestly,
no one said he's lying. That's why it happened. Right.
Yes.
Now, was it legally done? I don't know. What always amazes me though, Ray, is how Las Vegas can somehow not have money. I don't get it. Like, there's plenty of money there. And if they don't have the money, someone does in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't like the way that people are crucifying Sluka. I think he is actually doing this correctly. And I'm going to say it again. He has gigantic people trying to tackle him every game. That's the other part of the metaphor. Not only do you have to do your job for free, but someone's trying to kill you every single 3 minutes in your job. Yeah. You're going to keep showing up under those rules? There's no way.
No.
So I'm on his side here, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is going to start happening more and more and more. We have to start realizing, and again, I don't think this has been fully accepted yet, Ray. Collegiate football is now a business. It is now technically professional football.
I was going to say,
take it like that.
To be fair, it's always been a business.
Sure.
It's just that now everybody's getting a cut of the pie, because it used to be just that the universities that are really, I almost said organizations, but that's really what they are also, is franchises, if you will.
Yeah.
We're just keeping all the profits. No, I'm 100% agree with you here, is that I don't know why people are ragging on Matt Sluka. He abandoned his team.
How much did he want?
$100,000.
I mean, no offense. And look, people keeping this perspective, that is nothing. For an athlete of this caliber. I mean, that's unbelievable that they didn't pay him that.
Yeah, that it just swept away. It's like, oh yeah, like it's unbelievable. UNLV, shame on you, trying to backtrack on what sounds like was a verbal agreement, handshake deal, as Lee said. And I mean, honestly, again, look, hopefully this is an eye opener for other college athletes out there to get everything in writing before you move on and accept anything. I mean, good on Matt Sluka, and honestly, bad on UNLV. And honestly,
fans, I don't understand. Like one of the signs says it's one of the signs says it's UNLV, not UNILV. And I was like, dude, that's such a college way of thinking.
Yeah.
This guy's trying to make his money. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, you don't. That's the problem. Is that the people who are the student body is like, well, you're hurting my experience. I want to enjoy the football games.
What a college thing to say, right?
Yeah, he wants to enjoy. Well, he wants to enjoy playing football. He was promised something. He didn't get it. He's doing the right thing, and he may transfer again because remember he was a transfer coming into UNLV, and hopefully he does transfer again, and hopefully UNLV absolutely craters, and hopefully he gets paid. So, so there you go. A lot of other stuff going on in college. Notre Dame knocked off Louisville. They were both in the mid-teens, so that Louisville will probably slip. Virginia Tech, Hail Mary, waved off. And honestly, this was the right call. If you looked at the review, I was shocked the refs called it a touchdown. We almost had Hail Marys on back-to-back weeks. Obviously, Colorado 2 weeks ago. But Virginia Tech against Miami, and the ball juggling, bobbling, and somehow the refs were like, yeah, that's good enough. Touchdown. And it was like, good enough. They overturned it though, and Miami would hold on. Virginia Tech back-to-back heartbreaking losses. They lost to Miami, and then they also lost to Rutgers, as Rutgers would then also go on to beat Washington. Lee, Rutgers is 4-0
in your video game or in real life.
In real life, just like my video game.
Just in case nobody's following Ray, he's been playing NCAA football, and he has Rutgers as a complete collegiate dynasty. Move over, Bama. Move over, entire SEC. Ray Carsillo's Rutgers University Scarlet Knights is becoming the greatest dynasty in the history of collegiate sports under his tutelage, under his leadership, under his comedic performances. Rutgers, number one. But the real Rutgers is 4-0. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they should be. Here's the thing. Obviously, you keep winning, you're going to climb the standings. But Rutgers, look, obviously, you're going to look at like Michigan, you're going to look at Penn State, you're going to look at other teams in the Big Ten ahead of them. But you can't argue with 4-0. No, Rutgers is probably right in that 3, 4, 5 tier.
No, like this is what is
now, by the way, and now is what an 18-team conference in the Big Ten.
Well, look, that's a team that should they continue to go undefeated. Absolutely. That's a team that should be in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Should they 100%. Continue? I got to be very clear about
absolutely, that. Absolutely. But look, obviously you beat teams like Akron, you beat teams like Howard. Obviously, those are your gimme soft games. But you beat Virginia Tech. You beat now Washington, who was in the playoff last year, right? Like with Michael Penix. Now, obviously, that's a completely different team after Michael Penix graduated and a lot of other guys move on to the NFL and whatnot. But good for Rutgers, 4-0. See if they can continue it.
Even I could nod to the dirty jurors here.
Yeah. So a couple other upsets. Kentucky knocked off Ole Miss. Ole Miss was number 6. Kentucky unranked. That's a massive win for Kentucky. And Ole Miss is going to be all out of the standings soon after that one. That was terrible. And Kansas State beat Oklahoma State. So that was another lot of upsets. Every week seems to be an upset, but as we talked about before,
it's better than it was. I like the parity in college football right now.
Yes,
there's suddenly.
A lot of folks were talking about the evils of the transfer portal and NIL, and to your point, Lee, it is actually even the playing field, at least so far.
Imagine that. I believe I did say that would happen when this idea came up.
Yeah, and of course, the big game of the week: Alabama against Georgia. This was a shootout. Georgia looked like they were dead in the water. Terrible first half. Came storming back to take a 1-point lead, and then a 75-yard bomb to a 17-year-old freshman, tiptoeing his way down the sidelines. And Alabama, Giants should get one of these two quarterbacks in the draft. Alabama beats Georgia 41-34 in a battle of the top 4 teams. Georgia will probably slip, but shouldn't slip too much. But what a phenomenal game.
That's what you want. With Saban watching, by the way, on game day.
Yes. Yeah, Saban was there. Yeah, he was there. He was actually there. So, unbelievable. So, yeah, good week for college. I'm really starting to get into college football. I think it's because of the video game.
I think it's because of the video game. I think college football can be very fun when it's going the way it's going right now. I think it's tough when it's the same 3 teams all the time.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mentioned my Giants will be looking for a quarterback. That'll bring us now into the NFL. It's been an interesting week in football.
Can we just skip the NFL section this week? Can we just go past it?
Yeah, no, unfortunately not. Well, we'll start with something that we both can laugh at. The Jets lost 10-9.
Yay! See, he's a comedian, but he tells the truth.
Yeah, the Broncos. I'll say this: the Broncos basically have won 2 trap games where they were the trap. They beat a Bucks team that was looking ahead to Lee's Eagles, and boy, were they ready for your Eagles.
They were very ready for that game.
And the Jets, looking ahead to the now undefeated Vikings, in the rain, in the Meadowlands, completely crapped the bed. Well, for only the 5th time in his career, Aaron Rodgers led an offense that did not score a touchdown. And the Broncos, now 2-2, still not going anywhere, but they're 2-2 right now, and win 10-9 over the Jets. Wow. And boy, doesn't it sound like our original predictions of them being around a 500 team? Boy, don't those seem to ring true right about now?
It's amazing. It's like we've been watching football for our entire lives.
Yep. But what would we know? But the Vikings, I will say this: I did not predict the Vikings to be this good. The Vikings 4-0. I did predict them to beat Green Bay this week. A nail biter, 31-29. They had a big lead and a couple of garbage time touchdowns for the Packers. But Sam Darnold, doing stuff that's never been done before.
He's leading the pack.
He's leading the Vikings. But hey.
Thank you. That's fair. He is leading the Vikings. I obviously did not mean the Packers when I said that.
Yeah, I know.
But that is fair.
I'm a funny guy. I'm a funny
guy. What a funny guy. No, listen, I'm happy for the kid. We talked about this last week a little bit, but they're the real deal. Again, look, 4-0 is a great start. It's not a great finish. You got to go all the way. So we'll see what happens there.
Looking else around our division, the Commanders.
Yeah, the first place, the top seeded Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
In the NL East. Jesus, I'm in another sport.
The NFC East.
NFC East Commanders.
I want to say, fun stat that I looked up, the last 8 seasons, this is from 2016, the team that was in first place of their division after week 4 made the playoffs 77% of the time. So that's a good precedent there for Washington. They didn't necessarily win they win the division at 65% of the time, but they at least hold on for a wild card. I mean, and that's the thing too, right? Like I think the Lions are still going to win the NFC North, but the Vikings, you get off to a 4-0 start, you'd be crazy to not say they're going to be a wild card team at this point, right? And I think the same with Washington. Even if Philly wakes up, which they should,
they will. Yeah.
I think Washington will be more likely a wild card team than Dallas will be this year.
Yeah, look, the way they're playing, I told you, there's a honeymoon period going on here. I like what I'm seeing, but I'm not sold on the Commanders yet. Mm-hmm. Right. And again, people say that's really grand of you with your 2-2 Eagles. The Eagles will find the way. They're too talented to not find a way to compete here. Right. I could say the same about Dallas, to be honest with you. What's going to be
I think we'll get into it. I think Dallas has a lot more problems than you guys do.
Well, I would agree with that too. What's imperative for the Commanders is they have to win their NFC East matchups.
Yes.
You could say, oh, that's obvious. No, they have to. They can't go 500 in the division if they're going to do this. They're going to have to really go probably about 750 if they're going to want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they're going to win 4 out of the 6 games.
I think that's fair to say.
I mean, and that basically means they have to sweep the Giants, which they could still do.
It's possible.
And split with Philly and Dallas.
Which is very possible. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what happens, though. But good on the Commanders for. I thought we were going to be talking about maybe next year them being a wild card team, and they're already. Yeah,
it's early. I guess I'm not ready to give them that just yet, but it's early.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, speaking of your Eagles, we mentioned the Bucks. The Bucks came out.
They killed us. They came in ready to play.
They were ready for you.
And as predicted, everyone felt we need to fire next year. This team sucks. And Jalen Hurts is the worst quarterback in history. I felt, guys, calm down. My God, we learned nothing. The city learns nothing from year to year. It's insane to me. There are some clear issues there. There's always question marks around the head coach after a 2-2 start.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. It's 2-2. I'm not
2-2.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
2-2.
Thank you. Whew, I had a nightmare there. We were 1-3.
We would have been win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1.
Yeah. So Dallas knows what that's like. Anyway, we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. I mean, the things that the Eagles need to fix, Ray, to your point, they're not like personnel issues of like we're not good. They're just not firing correctly on certain situations. If they find their stride, watch out. Right. And again, it's tough to come back from 24-0 in the first half.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
For any team. Sometimes it's not your day.
Yeah. Yeah. And that does happen. I mean, and that's the thing. And also, though, I also want to say, put the caveat out there, since they've gone to the 3-game preseason, there have been a lot more, we'll say, veteran teams that have gotten off to slower starts over the last few years. So a lot of time left to turn the ship around, and it's still very early.
It's
There's
so
many 2-2 teams. Yes, obviously there. You look at some of the 0-4 teams like the Jags. Yeah, you're done, right? You're done. 0-4. You can't win the division in the first 4 weeks, but you sure can lose it. And I don't see the Jaguars bouncing back from an 0-4 start. And the same thing with the Vikings going 4-0. Yeah, you're already halfway to a playoff spot, right? So there you go. You're ahead of the game, but a lot of time to go. And my Giants season is over. So it was over since day one.
We knew that before the season.
Yeah, as soon as the first snap of the season, we knew the season was over. The Giants lost 20-15, and again, this is why
in the
Dallas
dumbest game,
the worst game. Dallas does not look great.
It was horrible. It was a horrible
Cowboy
game.
fans. That is probably the worst win they've probably ever had.
It's disgusting. It was Thursday night. That's why I think everybody was messed up. But
part of it.
It's tough to watch. I'm as a football fan, and it's like I have a vested interest in that game, and I'm like, God, this is bad.
Well, it also hurts that and I love it. Like a lot of folks on ESPN, a lot of people at Fox Sports, everybody's saying it. It's like Daniel Jones was a really good quarterback. He could have made. He was three more throws that he didn't make that he needed to make, and that the Giants would have won this game. It's what I've been saying for forever. That Daniel Jones is the problem. Yes. Mm-hmm. Did he throw 29 of 40, which is that's over 70% with only a pick? Yes. But he had 0 touchdowns.
0 touchdowns. It's a problem.
He dinked and dunked, and he was 1 of 7. Would have been worse if not for a couple of penalties, but 1 of 7 on passes thrown more than 15 yards. And in fact, on the one completion, if he'd thrown a better ball, it would have been a touchdown. Because neighbors would still be running. But that's the problem, is Daniel Dumpster Fire Jones.
Out of Duke.
He still thinks he's playing at Duke. He still thinks he's playing a college game. It's year 6, and they said it on the broadcast. I said it 4 weeks ago. I said it 4 years ago. He can't read defenses. Kirk Herbstreit, oh man, he just completely misread the linebacker. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. He hasn't been able to read a linebacker since his Duke days. He doesn't know how to run an RPO. He doesn't know how to do this basic, now part of the basic NFL offense. And again, he can't throw an accurate deep ball. He doesn't have the arm strength. And now he's not even scrambling like he used to. So now he is just a mediocre. He is Trent Dilfer. He's Trent freaking Dilfer at this point. He is at best a game manager, which is what he did on Thursday. And then you just hope and pray that your defense doesn't give up more than 2 touchdowns. Because every other team in the league, if they held Dallas to 20, they would have won that game. But not us. Daniel Jones, 3 times in his 64 career starts has he put up 30 or more. That's not good. He's awful. It's like the Taylor Swift song. He is the problem. It's him. It kind of doesn't quite go like that, but you know what I'm saying.
Right. Listen, I got to ask this, keeping the theme going on the show here.
Yeah.
Have you won the Super Bowl in Madden with Daniel Jones as your quarterback, or do you move him off the team immediately?
No, I had to get rid of him.
Who'd you bring in?
I lost in the playoffs. I drafted a new quarterback.
You went with a fake quarterback, won you a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Because the thing is, because here's the thing, because Madden understands. So Daniel Jones was a 73 overall in Madden. I drafted a quarterback who was also a 73 overall.
Oh,
but the difference is that all the points in the quarterback I drafted are in throwing categories. The only reason why Jones is even a 73 overall is because he's got like a 90 scrambling. That's it.
So even Madden knows.
Madden knows how awful he is.
My God.
Accurately.
Wow, that's they don't do those commercials where they reveal their scores on there. That's brutal.
Daniel Jones he's a dumpster fire, folks. I've been saying this for 6 years.
Has it been 6 years?
It's been 6.
That's insane.
Years.
God, it must be tough when your team doesn't win for 6 years. Sorry, come on, man. Listen, for those of you listening who don't know, We all know I'm a big Eagles fan. I had to live in New York, New Jersey when the Giants won both of those Super Bowls. So while I do feel for my friend Ray, I don't have too much sympathy for Giants fans who every single day of my time up there reminded me of their 2 Super Bowls, which were phenomenal from a football standpoint.
Really, if you look at our all 4 of our Super Bowls,
sure, they're great.
And I've been alive for all of them.
Yeah, they're great. They're great Super Bowls.
Amazing.
But again, at the same time, and Ray, it's not you, Giants fans. Sorry. Sorry. Deal with it like the rest of us.
No, this is what happens when you draft a quarterback in the top 10 and you miss. The problem is that the Giants should have moved on 2 years ago from him.
Yeah, I didn't understand that drafting then. I don't understand it now. Let's move on. You gave us great mini clip potential with that entire segment.
Yes, thank you. I do what I can.
Comedian.
I'm a comedian. I'm a comedian.
You're like the comedian. You're like the comedian from the Watchmen.
Hey, nice lady. Different comedian. Not that.
Totally different.
I am the smoking the cigar with a flamethrower. Yeah, I could definitely be that.
That's
comedian.
you. That's you.
I got the beard now too. So anyway,
you do.
Which maybe I should. It's too late. I already have my Halloween costume. Maybe next year I'll go as the comedian. Because then he just have a mustache. He just had a mustache, I think.
I believe you're correct on that. Yeah. Well, it depends on the time period. There's times he has everything. But yes, I think you're right. It's just a mustache. Great job. Great film there, by the way, with what's his name? Jeffrey Dean Lewis. I can't remember his name. Anyway.
He was Negan in Walking Dead.
He was great as Negan.
I'm so sorry. I'm forgetting. I'm blanking as well.
I will get it up. Just keep going here. I'm going to IMDb.
Moving on to baseball. Watchmen was great because they, Snyder just followed the comic books, and when you follow the comic book shot for shot, holy cow, you make a great movie.
Yeah. It's amazing how that works, isn't it, Ray? That you just follow it. His name, just because I'm always here, was Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Thank you.
That just popped in my head it popped in my head literally right before you said it.
It was a comedian. Go ahead, buddy.
Yes. Anyway, moving on to baseball. A lot of stuff going on with baseball.
Where do we start with this?
Let's start with some fun stats. We'll start with Kansas City Royals, playoff Kansas City Royals. Bobby Witt Jr., 30 home runs, 40 doubles, 10 triples.
Wow.
Only the 15th time this has happened in all of baseball history. It's a very exclusive club. Actually, sorry, it's not the 15th time. Only the 15th person to do it. And five people have done that in multiple seasons. Lou Gehrig, I believe Lou Gehrig did it the most with 3. But only 15 people over the history of baseball, 125-year history of baseball. Bobby Witt Jr., only the 15th person. 30 homers, 40 doubles, 10 triples.
It's amazing.
That is phenomenal. Unbelievable. Aaron Judge statistically had the 7th greatest season of all time. Barry Bonds had like 4 of them, and Babe Ruth had like the other 2.
That's awesome.
So pretty good company for Aaron Judge there in terms of all the numbers, the WRC plus and slugging and all that. Yeah, also the first person to finish with a slugging percentage above 700 since Bonds in 2004. So Aaron Judge doing phenomenal. He should walk away with an MVP. Tarek Skubal, who's pitching a gem right now as we speak down in Houston, wins the American League pitching triple crown. First pitching triple crown since the COVID shortened season in 2020. More likely you're going to get a pitching triple crown than a hitting triple crown. Hitting triple crown, very rare, which is batting average, homers, and RBI. But Tarek Skubal, probably on the way to his first Cy Young, led the American League in wins, ERA, and strikeouts.
It's amazing.
Pretty dang impressive. And, of course, the final record, the Chicago White Sox.
Oh, brutal.
Even though they won 5 of their last 6, still finished as the worst team in baseball history with 121 losses. Wow. That's they should force the owner to sell there, Reinsdorf. They should force Fisher to sell in Oakland. Man, baseball's just full of a bunch of billionaire bozos. These are morons. You should be penalized financially for being so stupid and putting out such a terrible product.
What are you talking about, Ray? They set a record.
It's the worst record ever. It's the worst record ever.
They set a record. That's how the billionaires think. Well, we set a record this year.
Yeah, not the record you want.
Not the record you want.
No. before we get into our playoff predictions and also a tribute, baseball wisely listened to the fans, said, stop making those stupid all-star uniforms. We hate them. We're sick of them. And so baseball announced that said that starting next year after this 5-year experiment, that they are going to go back to players just wearing their everyday uniforms, home team if they're home team, away team if they're away. And also we'll go back to the old fabric they used to use because everybody is tired of seeing Carlos Rodon sweat through the jersey by the end of the second inning.
Why just the All-Star game? That's what I don't understand.
No. I mean, in general, the fabric for the uniforms in general will be changed across the board.
I was hoping
to say that. But for the All-Star game, like, really, guys? Really? Like, I mean, again, this is a perfect example with the uniforms the last couple of years, baseball trying to fix something that's not broken.
Yeah, it's time to go back.
It has worked fine for 100 years. What are you doing? Although the material is a little more lightweight than 100 years ago, but still, what are you doing? Anyway, Lee, it's time for playoff predictions. Everything's in place. Everything's going on.
Everything is set.
Everything is set. The Yankees have the best record in the American League. The Dodgers have the best record overall. The Phillies are the 2 seed in the National League, so they have a bye. They are awaiting the winners of the Braves and Padres series, and the Dodgers will face the winner of the Brewers and Mets. I actually think that favors the Dodgers to get to the NLCS, because I don't think whoever wins between Milwaukee and the Mets, I do not think will beat the Dodgers. I don't think the Dodgers will win the NLCS, but I think they can definitely beat both the Brewers and the Mets, and I think that the Phillies should beat the Padres or the Braves. And then, again, I've been saying it basically since March that the Phillies should win it all. So there's still my pick. There's no reason not to change that pick. Lee, what are your thoughts on at least in the National League side of the bracket?
Well, look, it's so hard, Ray, because believe it or not, the way Atlanta and New York went into the playoffs here, which we should talk about for a minute here, because
yes, the crazy doubleheader.
Yeah, can we start there? Because it's a little weird to me the way that happened, and I wonder. I think I said to you the night before, because we knew that if they split the games, they both get in.
Right.
I said, "There's no way they're not splitting these games." Right? Like why would you want to sweep the team after that? You know what I mean? There's no way. And even if we said this, the team that won the first game is going to throw in nobodies in the second game. It doesn't matter, even from a standing point of view.
Yeah. No, the Mets. I mean, the first game was phenomenal. Both teams, what you want to say, badly or poor, played great or bad, depending on how you look at it. If you like offense, they played great. They like pitching, they played terribly. The bullpens imploded. It looked like the Braves were up 3-0 after 7. It looked like the Braves were going to cruise to a Game 1 victory. Then the Mets took the lead 6-3. The Braves came back to take the lead back 7-6. Yeah. The Mets, Francisco.
It was an awesome game.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the scenario was kind of weird to me. But by the way, I think that the Phillies play the winner of the Mets Brewers series, not the other way around.
I think actually you are correct. You might be yes.
Yeah.
The bracket.
It's okay.
Wacky.
It's okay.
The bracket's wacky. So
it is always so. Here's the deal. I'm torn. I'd rather play the Brewers. If I had to pick someone, I'd rather play the Brewers. I know they're the better team. I think the Mets and Phillies is a little bit of a wild card game because they're so close and they hate each other so much that anybody could win. And the Mets have kind of had the Phillies number a little bit at the end of the season. So it's like I don't know if I want to get into that situation. With that said, I would love to beat the Mets and knock them out of the playoffs. I just don't think I'd want to deal with it if the Mets somehow beat the Phillies. Yeah,
well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, let's go back to the doubleheader real quick.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Well, you are correct. I apologize. I got the bracket incorrect.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
I will change my quick predictions there because of that. The Mets won that game, and then in Game 2, they absolutely took the foot off the gas to the point where, even the announcers were surprised on the top of the ninth. The Braves were up, and Brandon Nimmo, one of the fastest men in baseball, really lollygagged it down to first on what was a double play ball. Whereas if that game mattered, he would have been hustling. But the Mets absolutely played that game like it didn't matter, and for them it didn't. They knew that they were probably heading back to Milwaukee, and that's what's happened, and that was it after they won Game 1. Which you feel bad for the Diamondbacks because the Diamondbacks again. Yeah. The Diamondbacks. The scenario, folks, is if one team swept, the Diamondbacks would have slipped into the seat. It's the first time in some in like 10 years or something. No, since 2007. Excuse me, since 2007 that the teams that won the World Series or that were in the World Series prior were not going to be in the playoffs the following.
We do need to say that because there are. Oh, I feel bad for the Diamondbacks. They had this entire thing within their control.
Oh yeah,
they could have easily made the playoffs. So I don't feel bad for them. Like they got screwed. They didn't get screwed. They did this to themselves.
Just like the Minnesota Twins, who had a stranglehold in that wild card spot for 6 months, and then they stumbled so badly down the stretch that they allowed the Mets to catch up to them the same way that the Twins allowed the Tigers to catch up to them. It's good ball again. No doubt about it. The Tigers and Mets are the two hottest teams in baseball. There's no doubt about it. Second half of the season, Tigers and Mets, absolutely. But if the Twins and the Diamondbacks played just halfway decent, better baseball down the stretch, doesn't matter how well those two teams played, they wouldn't have caught them.
Right.
It took two. Same thing with the Astros and the Mariners. The Mariners early in the season, first half of the season, had a stranglehold on the American League West. The Astros won the West. They're in the playoffs. They didn't have a great record, but the Mariners really, really stumbled. In fact, I think it's actually the largest lead lost in a division the fastest. They lost like a 10-game lead in a month. That's Mets like. That's historically bad, and that's what happened to the Mariners in the middle of the summer. Like, so it happens though, and it happened a lot here this year. So I don't feel too bad for the Diamondbacks if they did have control of their own fate. I mean, again, the Padres playing for nothing. You lose 2 or 3 to the Padres. Same with the Mets. The reason why the Mets were in this scenario, Brewers had nothing to play for, and the Mets lost 2 or 3 to them. In fact, the Mets lost 4 or 6 heading into the playoffs and kind of got lucky that they got in. They had this kind of do or die playoff scenario to get them in. So, anyways, that's the doubleheader. So, I think the Brewers are going to beat the Mets again. I think the Phillies will beat the Brewers. I think the Padres will beat the Braves. Padres-Dodgers is actually really interesting.
That's a good series.
That is a very good series because the Padres, much like how the Mets can sometimes give the Phillies trouble, the Padres can absolutely give the Dodgers trouble. So maybe we have a repeat of a couple years ago because it was Padres-Phillies a couple years ago in the NLCS. I think we might get that again. And I think the Phillies. I still think the Phillies, but I think instead of beating the Dodgers, they'll beat the Padres now. So
yeah, look, the problem for both the Phillies and the Dodgers, if that plays out in the NLCS, is it's just whoever goes cold is going to lose, or you're in for the greatest baseball series of all time. You're like into one of the biggest home run fests of all time, or someone's going to go cold and it's not going to happen, which is exactly what happened to the Phillies last year. Yeah. So I think we also have to realize here that Shohei Ohtani has never played a playoff game.
No.
And this is one of those scenarios where he's either going to be God and show up and be unbelievable, which, to be fair, his performance kind of leans that way.
Yeah.
Or he's not going to have any experience in the playoffs and it's going to show.
Yeah.
What I hope for is that whoever they play, whether it's the Braves or the Padres, he goes off and it all comes out in the divisional series. And when they meet the Phillies, who hopefully advance, it's nothing there. Right. But we'll see. The Mets, the more wins the Mets get, the more powerful they become. They're a team that lives on belief, which is not a bad thing. As a sports guy, I can't negate that. But, it's one of those things. Like the Mets are the type of team, like the way they are this year, Ray, that's typically how they end up winning. So it's like someone's got to stop them. And, I don't like the way the Phillies have played them this year. With that said, I don't like the way they've played them on the road. Coming into the bank, that might be a very different series.
Yeah, the Phillies obviously will have home field.
We have the greatest home field advantage in baseball, and no one disagrees.
And the Phillies are going to be well rested now, whereas the Mets are literally been running. The Phillies, and whereas the Mets have been running on fumes now, have to play 2, if not 3 games in Milwaukee.
I saw the Phillies. I was in Washington watching the Phillies the other day, and they just kind of looked a little not tired in the they look exhausted sense, but tired in the season's ending and they're already in the playoffs and they just want to rest for a few days, kind of tired.
The Yankees looked the exact same way against Pittsburgh. Everything was wrapped up, really nothing to play for. Yes, they won on Sunday with all the backups and whatnot, but it didn't matter at that point. People were like, "Oh, they looked like bad against Pittsburgh." The worst thing that happened against Pittsburgh was Anthony Rizzo broke his hand. That's what hurt the Yankees against Pittsburgh. That's about it.
Just trying to get that season roundup. You get the bye. I don't think anybody's really interested in. I shouldn't say this. Winning the best records in baseball or best records in your league, it's good for home field advantage. I'm not negating that, but I don't think that's the most important thing in the world to these guys.
No, I mean, at this point,
The buy is
the buy is more important. The buy is more important,
Yeah.
I think, for sure. But yeah, the Yankees will take on the winner of the Orioles and Royals. Look, I said it. I've been saying this pretty much almost from the beginning too. I picked the Orioles to win the American League. Now, I thought they were going to win the division. They've had a lot of pitching injuries, but they also have the Yankees. Even with all those injuries, they've had the Yankees number this year. Now, could that change in the playoffs? Absolutely. But this is also a team that now has experience after losing in the first round last year, right? Yankees didn't make the playoffs last year. In fact, a lot of guys like Volpe and Wells, this is their first
Right.
playoff experience.
True.
What Yankee team is going to show up, right? Now we have Garrett Cole. You could argue we have more veteran pitching. You could argue, obviously, overall we have more experience. But look, and also great season for Kansas City. To me, you're a year ahead of schedule, riding the backs of Bobby Witt Jr. and Sal Perez and Seth Lugo, who will probably be second in the Cy Young voting behind Tarek Skubal, we talked about earlier. The Orioles should beat the Royals. I would be shocked if the Royals beat the Orioles. I'd be thrilled if they do, because I will say this: if the Royals, Yankees in 3, like knock on wood, and maybe 4. Yankees will steamroll the Royals, in my opinion. Orioles, I'm worried about. I don't know if we beat the Orioles. In fact, actually, as much as it pains me to say it, I might take the Orioles. I want the Yankees, but I'm going to take the Orioles, actually. Just because obviously I've been kind of saying that they're going to probably win the American League the whole year. So I'm not going to go back now. And then Astros Tigers. Again, Tigers are up right now in game 1. I hope the Tigers win. I actually felt that Tigers Orioles favored Tigers more. But because that flip-flopped on the last day of the season, the seeding. But the Tigers, because here's the thing. After Tarek Skubal, the Tigers don't have any pitching. Who's going to take the ball in game 2 and 3 for the Tigers in this wildcard season? Houston, I think, can take, even though they're going to probably lose today, I wouldn't be surprised if you say, well, Houston's going to win game 2 and 3, and then they're going to go face Cleveland. And then I will say Cleveland should beat Houston or Detroit, because Cleveland has the pitching and they have enough offense. And then whoever Cleveland faces, whether it's the Yankees or the Orioles, they'll beat Cleveland. And then they'll go on to the World Series, where if it's Phillies Orioles, I pick the Phillies. If it's Phillies Yankees, no offense, I actually think just because we matched up with you well in the regular season, I will actually take my Yankees over your Phillies.
I would be upset if you didn't take your own team over the Phillies.
Yeah. So I think that if the Orioles beat the Royals and it's Yankees Orioles, whoever wins that division series wins the American League. That's my prediction.
If the Yankees win the World Series, I am going to make you a T-shirt that says "It's all right in front of us."
And I will happily wear it because it will be World Series. It will say 28 World Series.
Yeah. 2024 World Series champions. It's all right in front of us.
And that's what matters the
most.
most.
Aaron Boone will get a statue.
I don't know about a statue, but it will become a mantra.
And Ray will have a lot of crow.
Absolutely. And I will be happy to.
You'll be happy to do it.
Yeah. The same way in 1996, when the slogan was, "We play today, we win today." Right? It's all right there in front of us will be the team motto for 2024. Because you know why? And you know why it won't matter? Because we'll have a World Series championship. And that is all I care about. Anyway. So, one last quick baseball story. This was very sad. The complicated legacy of one Pete Rose came to an end yesterday afternoon. 83 years old. His lifelong ban is now over. If baseball should put him into the hall immediately.
Yeah, we've talked about this on the show over the years,
Yeah.
right? That they will not induct him into the Hall of Fame until he passes away. It's one of the biggest hypocrisies in sports history.
Yes, especially now with all the hey, DraftKings, ESPN bet, buy, bet.
You have a ton of steroid guys in the Hall of Fame. It is one of the biggest hypocrisies in all of baseball. I really
not a ton of steroid guys, but enough.
if there's more than one,
Right.
it's a ton. All right. Like, besides, they all take up 3 or 4 spots because they were so jacked up. But it's time to put him in. I think he was reserved. I mean, like you hear a lot of stories about people. There's no way with somebody with that amount of talent, those stats can't be in. It's hypocrisy. The hypocrisy is horrible.
Former Rookie of the Year, MVP, 3-time World Champion in 76.
Never bet on his teams. Never. He only did this as a coach.
Not as a player.
Yeah, it's brutal. So
yeah, 75 and 76 World Champion and 80 with the Phillies.
Yes.
So a 3-time World Champion. Only person to still go to the All-Star game from 5 different positions. Was an All-Star at 5 different positions.
And absolutely in the conversation of greatest hitter of all time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
No one would argue this. So the fact that guy's not in the Hall of Fame, but some of these other guys are, it doesn't make any sense. He is gone. Yeah. Put him in. Put it to bed. And let the man rest in peace.
Yeah, absolutely. So also back-to-back really sad news that we go from one athlete death to another. Yeah. Very sad. The great Dikembe Mutombo, second most blocks in NBA history. And just a very generous and wonderful person. Built hospitals in Africa with all his money and everything, and just an ambassador for the sport of basketball. And 58 years old from brain cancer. Just a terrible, terrible way to go, and a terrible, terrible loss for the basketball community. And yeah, just very, very sad. Very, very sad. His finger wag, his no is the stuff he'll live forever. The stuff of memes. And yeah, just unlike Pete Rose, who had a very complicated legacy, Dikembe Mutombo's is one of only good things, and just a stellar human being that we've lost in the sports world, and just very, very sad.
Yeah, it's funny how you only have good memories of him, and that shaking of the finger against the greatest of all time. I mean, there's not many people that could do that, but yeah, I remember when the Sixers had him for a little bit. It was a huge deal. I mean, that we got him on the team. His son had a touching tribute to him yesterday. You never want to see someone go that young, but at the same time, the legacy, the life is worth being celebrated, and that's what's going to happen now.
Yeah, no, for sure. One other thing, the big basketball news. We're right in the cusp of the basketball preseason. We're in hockey preseason right now.
Well, actually, the next show will be in hockey season, so we'll have to do a preview next show for those of you waiting for my predictions.
Yes, because they'll have played the first game, but the hockey season, it'll be another week before hockey season really gets underway. So that's why we'll save the hockey previews for next show. But the Knicks send Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle, two very beloved and kind of hero guys, and a first-round pick to Minnesota for Karl Anthony Towns. The Knicks, they're like, look, we're gonna have a short bench this year, but we are going to have a starting 5 that can compete with Philly, that can compete with Boston. And if we stay healthy this year, which is really, again, I said it last year, the only reason why the Knicks weren't playing for the Eastern Conference Championship was in the Eastern Conference Final was because of injuries. Lee, how can you say that the top 3 teams in the East aren't going to be Boston, New York, and Philly?
There's no way you can't say that. It's exactly what you just said. There is no excuse for it not to be those 3 this season. And here's the thing. This is what we've always hated about basketball. It's just in our favor right now.
Right. Yes.
But I mean, how can it not be those 3?
Well, the super team. The Knicks did it. Yeah. Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, and they got Bridges from the Nets. It's not quite a super team.
Now that James Dolan's done focusing on the Sphere, he finally is focused on his basketball team again and said, oh, wait. Well, we're pretty good, huh? If only he would do that with the Rangers.
You know what? We're doing just fine without him focusing on us.
It's very fair. Yeah, actually, the more he stays away, the better you do.
I was going to say, in fact, I think that he's just letting the Knicks front office actually cooking. Like, let him focus on playing his music at the Sphere. Have fun, Mr. Dolan. Keep collecting your checks.
I made a big ball over in Los Angeles.
You did it. Good job, Jimmy. Good job. You made a ball in the desert. Okay, maybe you'll build one in London next to Saint or something. Whatever. Jimmy. Focus on your balls in the desert and not on the balls.
Yes, Ray. Mediclip.
Yeah. So leave it just.
Focus on your balls in the desert. I love.
Yeah. Right. And leave the balls on the court to the professionals.
That
Okay.
is fantastic, man.
Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm very excited as a Knicks fan. Again, look, does it lessen our bench? Sure. But the Knicks now have a starting five with putting Towns probably at the center position, right? Especially until Mitchell Robinson comes back. And it's not like the Knicks have no bench. It'll just be a thin bench. But yeah, it's exciting time. It's the first time really in 10 years. The 1 year with Carmelo Anthony and Stoudemire, we were excited, but it never went anywhere. This feels like it could be a sustained several seasons of winning for the Knicks, building off of the last 2 years, and hopefully, after 50 years, finally bringing an NBA championship back to New York, bringing it back to the Mecca. How are we the Mecca when we haven't won anything since 73? I don't know, but that's what they say. Yeah, so go Knicks.
The Mecca.
Go New York, go.
That's just a New York thing. Oh, the Mecca. Oh.
Yeah.
New York's the center of the world, man.
Yeah, but guys, our teams don't win. Only the Yankees and Giants win. No one's saying the Meadowlands is the Mecca. Anyway, really quick, speaking of basketball, going from men's basketball to women's basketball, we're in the semifinals. The Liberty up 1-0 against the Aces. Let's go Liberty. And the Sun up.
That's huge against last year's champs.
Yes, absolutely. Defending champs. If the Liberty can look, I think it's going to be Liberty and Sun in the championship. New York versus I've been saying it all year. This is the Liberty's time to get their first championship. They've lost several. They've been so close so many times. It's New York's chance. So again, also go New York, go. But this is a fun fact. The WNBA says the attendance from last year over this year, or this year over last year, 48% increase. I wonder why.
Caitlin Clark effect, man. And here's the trick. The trick now is to maintain it.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I mean, look, the fact that she even got into the playoffs in her rookie year is such an accomplishment. So she's only going to become more and more of a threat. And then if she ever does anything to knock off New York, then we'll hate. Then I will hate her. So, yeah.
I was gonna say, at least she doesn't play for Indianapolis.
Oh yeah. If she turns into the lady Reggie Miller, yeah. Suddenly it's like, Ray, why don't you talk about Caitlin Clark anymore? So anyway, that's it for the sports section. We had a good sports section this week. A lot to talk about. Now we're gonna go into the geek section.
Juicy geek section.
Yeah, this is a fun. I've been looking forward to this since I watched the episode 2 hours ago. No, honestly, I'm loving Agatha all along. I think it's so much fun. The third episode, we're starting to get into the trials of the witches and whatnot as they walk the path, and through many miles of tricks and trials. And like now you also are going to see the formula, because there's 5 women, and so you know that episodes 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 is basically each one going to probably be passing their individual trial, right? It was the potion witch who had her trial basically this time. But also, and I think she is dead. Spoiler alert. I think Mrs. Hart, Sharon, as great as she was, as fun as she was, I think she did die in this episode. I don't think she's coming back, because you have to open the door for Rio to come back. And we know that she's coming back. So, because you need a green witch proper, as according to the tales.
Can we just say real quick, that was one of the best endings in TV.
Yeah.
They get it on this super somber note of like, she's dead. And Agatha goes, who is that?
Yeah.
So good.
This show has so many great one-liners, by the way. It is so well written. But again, it also just does show, like, I mean, look, she was never good. We talked about it last week. They even immediately kick it off, be like, we know she's not a witch. It's like, okay, thank you for immediately the elephant in the room. They're like, okay, you all knew, but then you were like, oh yeah, here comes the Salem 7. We just need to go down this hole no matter what, because and that's basically the theme of the show, which is that they're constantly running from threat to threat.
My description of this to Ray before he saw it, and I want to know if you agree now, Ray, is that the show has finally, or Marvel has finally mastered the episodic nature of television, right? This was a standalone episode. Obviously it's congruent to the show. Like there's a story, but it was a good standalone episode. This is where WandaVision kind of failed, is that every episode, you can't really watch it one at a time. They're all kind of connected. Yeah. It's a movie, right? Is this the first time we're seeing an episodic adventure here? And it's being done so well. I mean, I'm going to say it again. Catherine Hahn is so good. She is so good in this role.
Yeah. No, she's phenomenal. She just chews up the scenery. Yes, but yeah, again, episode 4, I think Rio's going to come back. I do think that Sharon, aka Mrs. Hart, I think has passed on. So good for Joanne Rupp to get herself a couple extra episodes of airtime, get that Marvel money.
No, I'll tell you this. I do think she's dead, but I think she's going to come back.
Maybe even haunts them somehow, right? Like, I mean, that could absolutely happen.
Which?
Yeah.
I don't think she's dead. I have a feeling she's gonna be revived, or something's gonna happen with her, or maybe when they get to the end of the road, things reset. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. They've basically also now everyone's aware, and including Teen, that there's a sigil on him.
Yeah, which is I'm glad they did that too. It pushes that forward a little bit.
Yeah,
and the boy.
Yeah, and I think
you're right, Ray. I think that's Wiccan. I'm gonna say
because to me, them teasing Thomas Scratch, I feel like it's them. I feel like it's almost too obvious. I mean, maybe I'm looking into it too much.
Like the red herring is that it's her son,
right? Which would be Thomas Scratch, right? Yeah,
right. And I don't believe it's going to be him.
No, I think they're dangling that too obviously in front of us, right? Like, I feel like the fact that that's
Wiccan, where's Speed?
Well, and that's the question, right? Right. I mean, look, and maybe I'm looking into it too much. Maybe it is just Thomas Scratch that maybe when Agatha sold him to the devil for the Darkhold, right? They did mention Mephisto this episode again, which
they did mention Mephisto in a funny way. You're right.
Yes. That was part of the price, is that he will forever kind of be like blocked off from her in a weird way, right? And they even kind of hinted that, like, she's like, "Oh, a sigil is so beneath me," but at the same time, that even more reason why maybe it'd be another way she knows that's how she would react to it, like if she has like a memory block or something because of the dark.
You're right. Look, it's with Marvel, you never know if it's a red herring or not. It might be that obvious. If it is Wiccan, I like the idea of the Scarlet Witch kind of betrothing him to her. And right? I need someone to watch my child.
And they also mentioned Wanda again this episode, right? Yep. Like, so they're making sure that people are still aware of all these characters. Is it Thomas Scratch? Is it Wiccan? We'll see. I'm intrigued. I love the breadcrumbs, and they mentioned the breadcrumbs very obviously. Like, we're following the breadcrumbs right along with them. It's a lot of fun. They actually had a literal ticking clock in this episode, which I was a little like, man, okay, that's a little cheesy. But
do you think White Vision will return in this series?
No.
It's interesting because they could connect that if they wanted to.
They could, but I don't think so.
I hope they don't, because I don't see how they would. But
yeah, no, I think that this whole thing is going to be just in the world of magic. If they do, it's very last Easter egg scene, credit scene, him just watching over Westview, right? Like literally from like or even from like a space view. Just
I wouldn't be surprised if he just went into the galaxy somewhere.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, look, we're gonna get. What is it? Vision Quest. We're going to get another Vision. Vision's getting his own show as well. So that'll happen. I don't think they need to connect that to this. Especially, I think if anything, they need to connect this because they were supposed to connect it to Kang, and then they got nixed. They need to connect this to Doctor Doom.
I agree. We'll see what happens. More important.
Yeah, but I'm on board.
It was Agatha all along.
Love it. Absolutely love it. A trial and episode, and that'll take us right up to the 2-episode finale on Mischief Night, October 30th. Cannot wait.
Way to go, Marvel.
Yes. This last week, moving on now from TV to video games, this last week was Tokyo Game Show. Microsoft was there. They did nothing. Nintendo was like...
They get all the money in the world.
And Nintendo, same thing. We don't need you. Sony needed to have a good show.
Did they have a good show, Ray?
They had an okay show. I'll say this.
That's not good.
No, they had a massive presentation. They had one game that we're all talking about, which is the Ghost of Tsushima sequel, Ghost of Yotei. and that will be coming out sometime next year. It
You'll
takes
be
place
playing that. You love that
absolutely.
game.
Absolutely. It takes place 300 years after the first game. So it's very, very loosely connected, not even
So
really
it's
connected.
just kind of like after COVID for us.
Yes, exactly.
300 years later.
Yes, exactly. And of course, the internet obviously went nuts because it's a female protagonist again. And it's just like, guys, get over it. It's swords and samurai and bloodshed, and it looks freaking amazing.
But Ray, we can't have women protagonists in video games.
Get a life.
Ray, we can't do that. The men. We used to live in a society. I can't even do this without sounding like it. Oh my God, it still doesn't make sense.
We used to live in a society.
That's why I said that. Yeah. Listen.
You're jokers!
I have benefited greatly by being surrounded by extremely strong women my entire life, from my mother, God rest her soul, to my wife, to many of my friends. Let me tell you something, morons. It's a lot better when you're on the same wavelength with your counterparts and your friends, and you just see them as people, because we're all people on the same planet. Ray, every human that has ever existed, to our knowledge, Russia, I'm looking at you on this comment, has died on this planet. Think about that. There has never been a human being that has passed away or been born anywhere other than Earth. Yet we still think we're the center of the freaking universe.
Yeah.
God damn, man. We got to get past this. This has got to be one of those issues. In 2120, they're going to look back at us like that we do it in the 1800s and be like, God, they were dumb. Man, how stupid were they?
I hope.
Or just 50 years. Man, smoking was a great idea, huh? Idiots.
Yeah, I hope. You know what I care about when I see games? Is the story good?
Yeah.
Does it play well? I don't care if I'm an alien, if I'm a dude, if I'm a chick. I don't care.
Mermaids can't be black, Ray.
I don't care. I don't care.
I want to put that. I wish that was the dumbest argument of that year.
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't, though.
I mean, it's like, focus on the things that matter. This doesn't matter. Like, is it a good story?
Like drafting a good quarterback, Giants, that matters.
Don't bring me back there. We're in the geek section, damn it.
Come on, guys. Priorities.
Yeah.
November 5th is just another day on the NFL schedule where we're not watching football. Okay? Things matter. Listen, should I just talk about real quick how many postcards I get to the house a day? Every day at my house, we get...
Because you're in a swing state.
I'm in a swing state. I get 2 opposing postcards that say the exact opposite thing. It's the funniest thing. So you know what we do? My daughter comes up the other day. She goes, Daddy, can I rip these up? I said, yes, sweetheart. Rip them up. And she rips them all up and she throws them in the trash. And we're learning to read. I said, we're not going to read those. You can just rip them up. It has incited some pretty cool conversations at my dinner table about what it means, the responsibility of voting and looking at issues and understanding how it affects other people, and that it's really important that you take this responsibility seriously, because your vote counts just as much as the president's vote or Aaron Judge's vote. And it's a real great responsibility that we have in this country. But please rip these postcards up. Let me tell you something, Harris and Trump, you're killing lots of trees right now. A lot. Yeah. It's not okay. Vote Carsillo Elias. Ray, you can be president. I just want to be in the background.
Woohoo!
2024.
Woohoo!
Beer. Num, 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 num. That's our campaign slogan. Carsillo Elias. Beer. Num, 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 num.
Perfect.
Landslide victory.
Absolutely.
Every day. Every freaking day. It's like I'm tired of it. God.
Unbelievable. Speaking of ads, though, sticking on video games, gamers are real mad about this. Sony... You do one step forward, 2 steps back. Sony used to have some really great art on the PS3 and the PS4 when they had the games up.
Not anymore.
Well, now, instead of having game art when you highlight your game on the PS5, they're pulling up, well, sometimes it's ads and sometimes it's just videos and it's stuff that they think might be relevant to this game or around this game, and just cluttering your PS5 feed with garbage. Ads and YouTube videos are replacing the game art on your PS5 home screen when you're highlighting a game, because I don't know. I don't even think they get any money for this. I think they're just dumb. I think they're just desperately
they're trying to copy like the Netflix kind of approach of like there's a preview that's always on. You know what this reminds me of, Ray? By the way, our producer put up "Why Sony Why" on the screen for those of you listening. That makes a lot of sense. Do you remember in Ready Player One when Nolan Sorrento says we've discovered we can cover up 85% of someone's visual feed before inducing seizures? That's what I thought about when I saw this. It's like, what are you guys doing? But listen, it shows you they're hurting for money. Absolutely. It shows you that's going the wrong direction. That's really what that means. They're not trying to capitalize. I think they're trying to create real estate.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, and Microsoft. Look, Microsoft has ads on their screen too, but they're really well placed, right? They're little squares in the bottom right-hand corner, right? They don't take up the whole screen.
Yep.
They're not eyesore.
They're tasteful would be the right word.
There you go. They're aesthetically
there
pleasing.
Is a way to do that correctly.
Sure. Again, yeah, there's a lot of space on your screen. Microsoft's like, we're gonna put something here. And you know what? And sometimes I click on those ads. I admit, because I'm like, I can read it because there's not a whole bunch of the clutter in front of it. And I'm like, oh, that is something that matters to me because I'm a gamer. Not your whole backsplash page is a YouTube video. Click here.
Look, ads work when they're relevant.
It's also true.
Okay. And like I said, I've never been against ads if they're relevant, if there's something you need or want, or they're like when Facebook started doing ads, they actually kind of got that right for a little bit, like 3 hours. Yeah. And then it went haywire and went crazy. But tailored ads, I believe Zuckerberg said this, are better than non-tailored ads, like getting 2 postcards to your house every day, which you don't read and let your daughter rip up. So if the ads were tailored, it'd be great. But I don't think that's what they're doing too well, Ray. And it's like they're amateurs in that field, and it's a problem.
Yes. And right. And again, Microsoft's doing a better job of it. Like I said, again, I will occasionally click on a Microsoft ad. I never click on a Sony ad because it's terrible. You know what else is, well, it's not terrible. It's just kind of a little sad. Assassin's Creed got delayed. Got delayed from November to February. Actually, very last minute. They were supposed to have a massive preview event at the end of last week, and they canceled it all. Super last minute. They canceled their Tokyo Game Show appearance. They were like, we need to work on the game. And look, I'll say this from having worked on a game. You can get a lot of bugs squashed in an extra 3 months, right? Assuming there's going to be holidays in there and whatnot. So hopefully they don't have to work through the holidays. Don't do that, Ubisoft. Don't do that. But
don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. I know you're hurting for money right now. By the way, also Ubisoft, don't blame the gamers for why Star Wars didn't sell. How about you fix all your bugs? Okay, maybe that's why people got word that your game was broken. That's why it didn't sell. Although there was also like 3 people that were like female protagonists. Shut up. But anyway,
it's like Metroid never existed. Like. It's so dumb.
What, Tomb Raider, Metroid, like
this is new. Princess Peach, Mario 2. She was the best.
She could hover.
Still can.
Just
still can, Ray.
People are dumb. But yeah, look, if Ubisoft needs the extra time, it's delayed to the middle of February. Take the extra time.
Yeah,
we want this game to be good.
I've never had a problem with that.
No, for sure. And look, it's 3 months. It's not that big a deal. Honestly, October, November, December is loaded enough as is anyway. It's not the worst thing. Although they moved to a 2-week period in February that is also loaded. It was like at that point, you should have just moved to March, honestly, in my opinion. Still would have been in your fiscal year because that's a big thing in games, right? First, people realize, for those who don't know, real quick knowledge drop. The fiscal year for a lot of game companies starts April 1st and goes to March 31st. So even though it's not a calendar year, that's typically because of the way sales work and all that stuff. That's when they look at their fiscal years. So anyway, but yeah, delayed it curiously to a very crowded period of time. We went from one crowded period of time to another, but fix the game. Make sure it's good because you can't have another Star Wars situation where everybody's mad about all the bugs. Or worse yet, an Assassin's Creed Unity situation. I'm still haunted by the one NPC that was just a floating pair of eyeballs. Nobody wants that. Happy Halloween. Anyway, it's spooky season. It's October 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of quick on the news. California just passed a law that it's a minor thing. But it does change the language now when you're making purchases or purchases of digital games, that they cannot say that you now own the game. Because we've said this before, is that you do not own digital media. It is a license that you are purchasing in perpetuity, at least for as long as the game exists in that digital storefront, right? You are not owning the game the same way you used to own a disc or own a DVD, own a Blu-ray. Those days are behind us, folks. Get used to it. You own nothing. Nothing. Maybe the shirt on your back. And if you're like me and it's 100 degrees here in LA, you get rid of the sleeves, so you own less. Anyway.
The take.
Yeah. Thoughts
California
on...
doesn't discriminate. It takes and it takes and it takes. You don't have no arms anyway.
Thoughts on California trying to more subtly educate the consumer here with this language change?
I don't know, right? I don't have a lot of positive things to say about the state of California these days, which is unfortunate.
It's not a negative thing.
Yeah, no. That's what I'm saying. It's not, but this is the high bar here now that they've figured out better language for purchasing behavior.
This is the high bar in California.
Way to go,
California. Anyway, one last thing. Speaking of legal troubles and battles, this was interesting.
One was interesting.
The U.S. Trademark Office told DC and Marvel, "You're done. You do not own the word superhero. It's been copyrighted and trademarked by both Marvel and DC jointly since 1967." And the U.S. government was like, "You can't own the word superhero. You can't trademark that." And they canceled it on the spot. It eventually would have gone back into the public domain anyway at some point, but the fact that it was ever trademarked to begin with is ridiculous.
Well, no, it's not. I'll tell you why. This is one of those. This is one of those interesting things where when they trademarked this, superheroes were not what they are today. This is one of those things where they ate themselves alive. That they have created a superhero genre so powerful now that it must be public domain. They do not own that. Right. And it's all how you define the word superhero. So someone will say, well, like Mickey Mouse took 100 years. Well, Mickey Mouse is a character that's owned by Disney.
That's an IP. Yeah.
All right. Exactly. Superhero is not a character. Right. And I think that they've defined this market so long and so big that now it has to be part of the public domain. That can happen. So in a weird way, it's a compliment to Marvel and DC. Also, it's not like it affects anything. And I think the other thing they realized is that, and this is what the patent office will look at, or the trademark office will look at, is does taking this away hurt their business? There's no way it hurts the business. Does nothing to hurt the business. If anything, it allows other superhero trademark and IP to grow now. So there's actually a oddly weird positive. And it is an interesting case of the U.S. government doing their job.
Yeah.
So
once in a while.
Another win.
Once in a while. Yeah.
No, right. I just want to. What'd you say? Go ahead.
This is a good thing.
Oh, yeah. I want to close here again with all my NHL fans that listen. Next week, we're going to be diving into the NIL, or the NHL, not the NIL, to be clear, not NIL. The CHEL is going to be coming next week. And we have a very special mashup coming this weekend where it is the ultimate Geeks Who Like Sports hockey mashup. That's all I'm going to tell you right now. You're going to want to tune in. It's going to be a little bit longer of a mashup, but the imagery we're going to show on the screen is something you're going to want to see. If you're listening to this, we will describe it well, but you're going to want to watch that episode of Geeks Who Like Sports. Mashup!
Yes, that's coming this weekend, folks.
Wherever podcasts are heard.
That does it for this episode.
A tremendous show, Ray. Tremendous show for Raymond Carsillo. Let's give a shout out to our producer, Savi. Let's give a shout out to our host, Ray. Let's give
Make some noise.
Lee. He did the water bottle crush. That's it. If he was a wrestler, that would be his thing.
That's right. I would do the Triple H.
Yeah, no Steve Weisers. They just throw you an empty water bottle and you'd crush it. Yeah, look at those biceps. Sergeant Killer.
Sergeant Slaughter.
No, I didn't say that on purpose. Wow. Okay.
I know. It's okay. It's all right.
It's okay.
I'm wearing the Sergeant's colors today.
You are wearing the Sergeant's colors.
Yeah.
Eddie's disease.
Yes. I'm going to send you home in a ditty bag.
You can't say ditty anymore.
Ditty bag. What do you mean?
You can't say the word ditty anymore.
What? Why is it? What's it mean now? Can I not say that?
I mean, do you have any baby oil with you?
Not that D-I-T-T-Y, not D-I-D-D-Y. Jesus, Lee.
I'm the comedian now. Goodbye, everybody.
I need to go put the air conditioner on. It's 100 degrees here in LA. For Lee, I'm Ray. This has been Geeks Who Like Sports. See you all later, everybody. Come on, man. D-I-T-T-Y.
You said Diddy. You said it. You said with your East Coast accent. Diddy.